Hey guys, back at it. Thanks for being understanding about no video last week. Life sometimes gets in the way. So this week what I'm going to be working on, as you can see in the background, I've mounted the flap and the other aileron on the wing, and my mission this week is to work on the fuel tanks. Let's finalize those fuel tanks. Let's get the one fuel tank off, do that thorough leak test that I actually want to do, as well as put some actual fuel in it and slosh it around and look for leaks. And then close the other fuel tank. I think I showed you last time that I did find some leaks in the other fuel tank around front. I have a endoscope that I'm going to use to kind of run around and look to see where that leak is coming from and why we're having a leak, because it shouldn't be there. So I'm going to work on that. But first, I need to work on this aileron. I've got some binding going on. So you can see this new hinge is the new hinge that came out as a directive that needed to be fixed, and there's binding between the aileron and the hinge. I've got to find my document somewhere around here about that and see if I've used the wrong rivets. Maybe I was supposed to use flush-mounted rivets. I didn't think so, but maybe. But either ways, I need to fix that because it's not moving correctly. There's definitely some binding there and some scraping. On the other side, there isn't any, which is weird. So that's what I'm going to work on this morning. All right, so I've been looking at my plans. So now this, the plans that I'm looking at here, this is the service bulletin. This is the 160328 service bulletin that specifically addresses this hinge. I guess down along the bottom here, there was cracking that was showing up. And this is a pretty important part, so that cracking, that's bad. Well, this row of rivets right here are 470s. They're the round heads, and there's binding. Let me move that right there. You can see it's binding against this rivet, and weirdly it doesn't do that on the other side. I mean, you're talking, you know, a gnat's fingernail of clearance, but it doesn't bind. This one does. If I just push ever so slightly this, you know, just give it a little bit of a push, it actually binds a lot less, but of course that's not a solution. So two possible solutions. One, I could change this rivet that it's binding against, and I think it would have to be these two outer rivets right here to flush mounted rivets, or, and this is the route I'm probably going to go, I could simply just shave a little bit of the skin off, because that's really all that's binding is skin. And I think if I just take this little bit of skin over to the bench grinder, give it a little zip against the bench grinder, I think that would just remove just enough of this binding to not be a problem anymore. And you'd never know I had this problem unless you watch this video. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's just kind of weird that one size has a slight bind and the other doesn't. Again, it's so super close. It's just the slight differences in the build, but I don't know if I should I guess I should probably send Vans a note and let them know that, hey, this might be a problem someone has, just to let y'all know. So anyways, yeah, it's just the barest little scrape. It's almost not worth mentioning, but you can hear it, right? And so that's enough for me to say, okay, I got to do something about that. So yeah, I'm gonna give that a little bit of a buzz, and we're gonna go from there. So this is really where having two people is handy, being able to assemble and disassemble quickly, especially when it comes to a lot of little washers and nuts and bolts and everything that goes flying. You don't want to lose them. These are handy too. Get a couple of them. So I had someone ask an interesting question on the YouTubes yesterday. A law enforcement related question. This is okay. So yeah, I had someone ask an interesting law enforcement related question yesterday that I thought I would address. They said that, do I have any, snarky anecdotes basically, or things that I say when I pull somebody over to give them a ticket? You always hear these kind of crappy comments that people make, or that they tell you that a cop made. And a lot of times those stories are false. People spin the tale when it's them getting the ticket. They always spin the tale that they're being victimized by the police. I, for myself, just about always give verbal warnings. I just don't write that many tickets. And the reason for that is because it's about good community policing, really. You have to understand when it comes to writing citations or pulling somebody over, for an officer that might be the 10th one he's done that week or that day, hell, if he's a motor officer, and the individual he's pulling over, that's probably the first time they've been pulled over in years, maybe decades. So for them, it's this horrible thing, and for him, it's just business as usual. So it's real easy to get jaded and not realize how impactful that is. And so I try to keep that in mind. And so when I pull somebody over, I try to be friendly, I try to be nice, I try to joke with them, and I try to just write them a warning if I'm gonna, or give them a verbal warning, or if it's something especially egregious, I'll write them a citation. But generally speaking, I know if I'm gonna write you a citation before I get out of the car, and I don't ever change my mind. Excuse me. When I was a very young, fresh out of the academy officer, you could change my mind, meaning I could get out of the car and you could give me a real bad attitude and it would go from a warning to a ticket. Now, I don't do that. And I think a lot of that is just because you're upset because quite often you can tell they know they're in the wrong. The individual knows they're in the wrong and they just don't want to deal with the ticket. And it's one of those things where it's not, I still don't write tickets very often because it's not good community policing. Generally, people are harder on themselves than you'll ever be when writing them a citation. And moreover, in my experience, especially where I work, you're just burdening them with a cost that they probably can't necessarily afford anyways. I mean, who can? These tickets get expensive. So anyways, do I have snarky comments? Yeah, I'm trying to think of one. There was a story. There was a girl, so this was back in Texas when I was an officer there. There was a girl who I pulled over for speeding. She was doing like 75 and a 55, it was like a 45 because it was a construction zone. It was like 75 and a 45. It was just, she was going way too fast. Pulled her over, and I walked to the car, and I remember it was a yellow VW Bug, one of the new ones. It was right after those first came out. Very pretty girl, young. She was like 18, 19, somewhere in that. Very pretty. And I walk up to her, and she's just bawling. And I thought, she's going to try to cry her way out of a ticket. And I had already decided she's getting the ticket because in Texas, that's in Georgia they call that super speeder status. In Texas, that's reckless driving because it's like over 20 miles an hour over. Anyways, she's just bawling, and I thought I'm just going to write her a regular ticket for 10 miles over. I'm just going to take it easy on her. And she's still just crying. I'm like, ma'am, it's no big deal. Why are you crying so bad? She's like, my dad's going to kill me. And I'm like, it's just a speeding ticket. I'm sure your father's had a speeding ticket before. She's like, this is my 13th one. I'm like, what? Sign here, please. 3 copies. Press hard. It's like at some point, holy crap, 13? How do you still have a license? So you never know what you're going to get is what I'm getting at. And I try not to be shitty, like I said, because there's just no point. It looks bad. You treat people bad, they'll treat you bad, and they get this bad taste in their mouth. And if you read a couple comments down, you'll see somebody who has obviously had a bad experience with law enforcement, and so that has colored their entire decision. And the problem with that is that that's something that they'll train and inculcate into their children and their friends how bad cops are. And it's like, no, they're just people. So anyways, I got a million cop stories. So anyways, I've got this off, and now I'm going to go over here and give it a little burr on this little section right here. Make sure I don't hit anything. Just right here at the tip is all I'm going to do. I'm going to rub this down on my grinder, and hopefully that will fix this problem. So here we go.
All right, while I work on that, the next section of this video is me just working in real time while I ramble at the camera to give you some idea of what it's like to actually be there.
So I took a bunch of the skin off to where it was just starting to touch this aluminum part there. Basically just rubbed the paint off of that. So let's see if that binds now. Alrighty. So now let's get these bolts. Put this back in place. This is where a second person would be handy. Bolts. I can already see that's much, much better, and it'll be right about there. So yeah, let's put all the hardware back in, and we'll see if we can get that. Okay. That's the other trick, is remembering what hardware goes where. There's 2 washers on this one on the outside, right? Thankfully, I've already done it. I can go over here and look. So there's 2 washers over here on this side. And again, this tool, this guy is amazing. You guys may not be able to see me over here. Let me turn this a little bit. So I'm putting this in now. To take it out. One. Oh, just shot a washer somewhere. Where'd you go? There it is. All right, let's try that again. This is what I'm talking about. Sometimes 2 people, better. Go. All right, there's that. And now, all right, now I've got to add 1 washer in between this piece and this piece. And so that means I've got to pull this out a little and then put it back in. And now, get that in there. There we go. And then thumb through. There we go. This is handy as hell. And then put that on here like that. And then this guy on here. Alrighty, that's correct. I haven't got it super tight yet. I'll do that later. Now let's move on to the other one. So this one's got a bushing and then a big fat washer that goes on this side of it, and then some more washers in between this bracket and this piece. So let's do that now. Probably gonna need a way to put this fat washer in, like a, let's see, do I have a wrench this big? No. Oh, I do. Look at that. No, not quite. Ah, it's too small. Damn. Oh, that's inconvenient. So we're gonna have to come up with a clever way to do that. Let's see. All right. So first this is going to fall a little bit. Let's do it over here, actually. Put it on here like that. And then put this big fat washer in here. And then move this. Yeah, gonna lose it. All right, now, and then slide it down onto there, and that should just pop in there. Yeah, it's almost like I know what I'm doing. I don't, but almost. All right, now I've got to put this washer in between here and here. So boy, that's tight. You're in the way, flap. There we go. And then put final washer on and nut. All right, now the test. And the test says, oh, much better. Yeah, there's over a millimeter. And it looks like if I pull it this way or push that way, it's still, this rod's getting in the way. That's why it seems like it's binding. But there's no binding at all. So there you go. There's the solution. So I'm probably going to do that on the other one as well, because it's, even though there's no real binding over there, I mean, just giving a little more clearance there seems like a good idea. So there we go. All right, these screws suck. They suck bad. The idea behind these screws is that you should be able to get these, on and off, but I have to think these screws are one use only, because even while screwing them on, this is so tight that it kind of boogers up the end, and then once they're on, getting them off, good luck. You're boogering up even more. I've got two of them here. I can't get off. I'm gonna have to drill them out, I guess. And that blows. I mean, I know they're supposed to be tight, but Jesus. So it's I guess these are, I don't know if these are brass or what these are, but they're just garbage. I mean, they need to come up with a better solution here. I mean, how often do you take these on and off? I'm probably gonna have to see. That's another one I can't get out. I'm gonna have to come up with another system to get these on and off. Maybe invest in other screws or something. I don't know. I mean, and I screwed them down with this, and this thing is weak as hell, so it's not like I over screwed these things down. This is just dumb. This upsets me a little. So yeah, something else. I'm gonna probably order a whole nother bag of these, I guess, from Vans, just so I have new ones in here, but these blow. God, that's frustrating. All right, so while I try to figure out how the hell I'm gonna get those 4 screws out of that other tank, I'm gonna work on the leak of this. Now, one of the places I've got a leak in this tank is along this spar, both on this side and on the other side. And I can't figure out what the heck, why it's doing so bad, so I've got this. This is an endoscope. I It's a cheap one too. I got it off eBay for like 30 bucks. But anyways, put it down into here, and this is what I saw. You can see right there along that line, there's no Pro Seal on there at all. And I don't know how I missed that. So obviously I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. And I've gotta do it from here, which means I've gotta go in underneath there and try to figure out how the hell I'm gonna get that in there. And this means I'm probably gonna get nasty messy. I'm probably just gonna goop that crap all over my hands, reach up under in there and just pack it in as best I can. That's unfortunate. I really don't want to do that, but I don't see how else I'm going to fix this, unfortunately, because we got leaks and we got to fix the leaks. So there's that. There's a leak, little leak right here in the corner. I'm going to put a dab on. There's a leak in another corner on the other side. I'm going to put a dab on the outside, but I'm trying to address this entirely from the inside if I can. Yeah, that's me rattling away at the camera while I work on that thing, and that's also me forgetting to turn the camera from time-lapse mode back into normal filming mode. So, whoops. Basically what I'm doing here is I decided to go ahead and try to fix the tank, and I can't see in there, so I'm having to just figure out how I'm going to do it. I start by cranking open one of those Goop dispensers and realizing there's no good way to get that up in there. I did try to put it down in there and use my fingers to push out the stuff. Really difficult to push it out, one, and two, I had no feedback. Like I couldn't see or feel or anything like that, whether or not any was coming out or if even I was depositing in the right place. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this by hand. So I started scooping the stuff right onto my fingers and got up in there and started dispensing the stuff up in there. I also, in a couple spot on the exterior, I put some of the Goop. Now, what I was able to do is I was able to have a different camera view where I had a camera down in the tank viewing the work I was doing as I was doing it. Unfortunately, none of that footage was available to me while I was there. I had no way out here to see what I was doing in real time. I'm going to try to resolve that. As you saw, I did use that scope camera to kind of get some idea, but even then, the screen is tiny on that. It's really difficult to see. So the feedback was dismal. But if I drop a camera in here after the fact, you'll see that I missed part of it. I got the corners done pretty well. There's Goop just everywhere in there, but right in the middle, there's still some of that I missed. Now, there was no leaking from that portion, but I still kind of want to get that in there. So I'm going to have to make another pass at this, another attempt. For now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let this sit and dry. And a couple days later, I'm going to go ahead and do another leak test on it just to see if I'm still leaking. But even if I'm not, I am going to go ahead and reach up in there and do another test to get that stuff out. I did go to the hardware store and got a couple stripped screw removal bits so that I'll be able to try to remove the screws from the other tank. That's coming here soon. Probably next video I'm going to have to struggle with that because I do want to do that other leak test. So anyways, guys, thank you so much. This is where I'm going to call this one. I appreciate it. If you guys like what I'm doing on this channel, if you click that thumbs up and the like button, it helps my rankings. If you want to support me, jump over to my Patreon page, and for as little as $1 a month, you guys can help me keep making these videos. And finally, like I say every time, if you want to make an airplane of your own and you're thinking about vans, you absolutely can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. If you use my builder's number when you order your first kit, Vans will send me $100. It's no money out of your pocket. Thank you so much. See you next time.